Hi, I'm Cullen. Welcome back to Networking Fundamentals. This is our 10th module and our last module. We're going to talk about the internet and all of its glory. Well, actually, just some of its glory, but you know what I mean. Anyway, let's get going, okay? Let's take a look at our agenda for today. We're going to talk about understanding the concepts of the internet, intranet, and extranet. That's the very first objective for the Networking Fundamentals course. Save the first for last. I guess it should be the best for last, but this is just the first for last this time, and maybe the best, who knows. But we're going to talk about the internet, intranets and extranets, virtual private networks, and then we're also going to talk again about security devices and zones. Okay, let's get it going. The internet. So what is it, right? It's not a cloud like you see it represented in pictures. It's actually just this worldwide, amazing, impressive system of connected computer networks, right? Just tons of LANs, all interconnected. Devices connect to the internet using the TCP/IP protocol suite and all of its protocols. And the internet contains a lot of information, resources, and services. You, like me, are probably always using the World Wide Web to either access or host content. You use email all the time, and it also, the internet provides connectivity for peer-to-peer networks and for file sharing. Just a really, really cool invention. So thank you to those who invented the internet. With that being said, what's the World Wide Web? Well, the World Wide Web is also another enormous system of interlinked hypertext documents. So everything that we access on web pages use a markup language called HTTP, and that's sent back and forth between browsers using hypertext transfer protocol, along with some others now. But it basically involves anything that can be sent and accessed using a web browser. Interlinked hypertext documents, they contain text, graphics, video, just a ton of really cool stuff. I strongly suggest that you check out the HTML5 application development course if you're interested in learning more about the World Wide Web and how to build and design web pages. Okay. Currently, the World Wide Web's in stage 2.0, so it's known as Web 2.0. 2.0 is an interactive type of web experience compared to the previous version, 1.0. I kind of wonder what I was thinking when I wrote that. I'm like, does that mean that 1.0 is not interactive? I don't know. Anyway, let's keep moving along and let's talk about intranets and extranets. All right, so an intranet is inside of the internet, right? So an intranet is a private computer network or a single website that an organization implements in order to allow its employees to access data around the world. Employees have to log in using a username and a password. That's authentication, just verifying you are who you say you are, before somebody can access information located on an intranet. The whole purpose of this is to keep the general public out and away from files and data sets that should be exclusive to a company or an organization. Companies and organizations can then add extranets as an additional layer outside of the intranet. So an extranet is very similar to an intranet, except that it's extended to users outside of a company or organization. So you could have a sister company. Maybe let's say you have company A and you work a lot with company B. You can give company B's employees access to your extranet, and that allows them to access important files, but still not access your intranet. User authentication, still super necessary. Whoops, let me pop back in that slide. I meant to go ahead and select a color here. Authentication is super necessary. I'm gonna use my laser pointer, my pen won't come up. Because the extranet itself still shouldn't be open to the general public. Not anybody, not just anybody, should be able to access an extranet. So we covered a couple of different ways that if you're working for a company or an organization, how you can access data, right? So intranet, just to review, is for internal employees, and extranet is for partners, and then you might have something like a web server that's for the public that's located and accessible via the internet. Okay. Let's talk about virtual private networks. So what do you do if you are working from a remote location? Maybe your company's based in Seattle, Washington, and you happen to be working out of Shanghai, right? Well, you can access your company's intranet using a virtual private network. And that's just a virtual connection between two or more private networks. It allows users to access resources remotely. They're going to log in using a remote access protocol. VPNs do this by simply encapsulating, or rather creating a tunnel in which communications can pass through, right? So the tunnel goes through all the different LANs and WANs that data communication might have to pass through in order to reach its destination. So you could be working remotely over here with our remote users, right? And maybe you're over in Shanghai and you want to go ahead and access this server that happens to be on your company's intranet. Well, you just go ahead and create a tunnel that follows directly through until you get all the way to this router, right? And then access the server from there. Okay. VPNs use data encapsulation and encryption to ensure that the data is secure. That's also something that shouldn't be glossed over. Okay. When we implement VPN, we have a couple of different protocols that allow us to do it. Point-to-point tunneling protocol is the first one. It was the original protocol that was used. It encapsulates frames into IP datagrams. The data isn't encrypted by default. It still is the most commonly used VPN protocol, but it's really important to note that it's less secure than the protocol that we're about to talk about. The layer 2 tunneling protocol with Internet Protocol Security. L2TP and IPsec is just a combination, actually just L2TP itself is a combination of PPTP and layer 2 forwarding. It's not actually that secure by itself, but when you link it with IPsec to encrypt the messages, it becomes much more secure than PPTP. So keep those things in mind. Those may appear on the exam. Definitely take some time to study both of those protocols and get them down. All right. Lastly, we'll talk about security devices and zones. So if we want to access these networks, we want to protect our data and make sure that it maintains its integrity and that other people aren't able to steal it and access it, we've got to make sure that we're set up to properly protect it. So to do that, we use security devices such as firewalls, right? They are the main defense for not just a company's network, but for any network, whether they're LANs, WANs, intranets, or extranets. We can also configure routers and switches to perform security functions like traffic filtering in order to prevent unwanted communications. We can also set up perimeter networks, the demilitarized zones. We talked about those a little bit earlier. They help keep open specific information that you want to make available for public users while making sure that you keep people out of your organization's data, right? That private data that you want to keep private. Firewalls, as we mentioned before, they protect a network from malicious attacks and unwanted intrusions. They inspect communications for malicious data, and they also perform filtering of data in order to make sure that if they do find something that's malicious, that it doesn't get into your perimeter network and even into your local area network, right? Whether it's an extranet, an intranet, or just a LAN, right? Just a plain old simple LAN. Something that's cool to know about firewalls is they can actually be implemented as software or hardware. There are devices that are dedicated firewalls, and then there's software that can be run on a server or even on a local machine. in order to filter out traffic and inspect for malicious data. Another thing that's really important to know is that firewalls are pretty ubiquitous. They are everywhere. They're the most commonly used type of security device, and you will almost always find them on an organization's perimeter, right? And here in this particular example, we have two right here, right? So we've got these two guys up here at the perimeter, and then also protecting the LAN as well. All right. And just to quickly recap what a perimeter network is, I know that we already discussed this in a previous module, but a perimeter network, once again, is just a small network that's set up separately from a private local area network and the internet. Sort of sits in between a local area network and the internet more specifically. And this allows users outside a company to access specific services located in the demilitarized zone. They might house a switch with servers that offer web, email, and other services. So just a couple of things to keep in mind there. But this is also a great way to secure your data while also maintaining and providing access to others to important services. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. This is the last one. Just to do a quick recap, we discussed the objective 1.1, understand the concepts of the internet, intranet, and extranet, detailing the internet, the intranets and extranets, what they are, how they function, who uses them. We talked a little bit about virtual private networks, and then finally security devices and demilitarized zones or perimeter networks. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed learning all this stuff. I know there's still a lot more to learn. Definitely gonna have to do a little bit of Bing searching and a whole lot of reading and probably some video watching too. But thanks again. We really enjoyed our time. That was Networking Fundamentals, and I'll see you later. Bye.